What we're here today to talk about is, we're sitting right around 60 days from opening day in Iowa, pressure shooting for whitetail deer hunting, or just pressure shooting for hunting in general. On this channel, we talk about food plots all the time, access lanes, trimming our tree stands, checking safe lines. How is it then that the one thing, it's kind of crazy when you say out loud, well, that's the thing I don't have time for. Morning, how you doing? Welcome to Midwest Whitetail's episode this week. It's a fun one. We'll start it off by congratulating Mr. Owen Reigler. We're coming down to shoot his 3D course, and that's really what the discussion is today. He just won the Iowa ASA and Missouri state shoots last weekend, and so to everybody who on social media congratulated him, thank you very much. I know he really appreciated it. Today what we're talking about, we're 60 days out from deer season. Basically we're gonna cover pressure shooting for hunting, and Owen has without a doubt inspired, held us accountable to do better, and that's what we're going to talk about today. There's a lot of things that we can do to prepare for deer season, but one of the biggest excuses made is I don't have time to shoot, or I don't have time to shoot enough. And food plots are great, tree stand, etc. I mean, you can do all of these preparations, but at the end of the day, we owe it to the animal to make this the #1 priority, and Owen's gonna walk us through his process today. And then #2, at the end, we're gonna give you a Chasing November update, and really excited to bring you that series. But hope you guys enjoy this video. Go shoot this course and see how I can stack up to the state champion.
You ready, big guy?
I'm ready. You ready?
I'm always ready.
Two-time state champion.
By the way, congratulations.
Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate it. Tell you that in person. So. Lost an arrow or two this last time.
Yeah, you
I got one arrow today.
Might not want to shoot that 70.
Oh, we're shooting. You know what this whole show's about? Fucking in. Two inches off.
You want to yes, sir.
For me before I pull it out, but I think that's
she caught it.
Fat arrows. Yeah, I personally like it when Owen goes first, and I got something to shoot at. Good shot.
It might be left of it. I think the height's there.
Low. Maybe I should have taken those practice arrows today.
I think I shot over that one.
You gotta clear your mind. Have fun.
You're not the only one that's not catching them, Josh. Look at that. You good, Ryan?
I think I'm just dropping my arrow back on my bow. I'm not following through accurately.
I was just asking Devin if he was losing pressure at full draw.
It means I'm not focused and following through with my shot.
Got to lock in right here.
I think we'd have some mad people if I shot that one.
Well, he's a little injured. He's only got 2 legs. I mean, he ain't gonna move much. Got him. You got foam.
Got foam.
Yeah, 26. No, you're 10. You're on the line. You might have that 12. You're either on the line or you're 10. There's a lot of pressure.
Did he shoot first, or how did you guys determine that?
Yeah, so you draw for order. He shot before me, so that obviously helped. I knew what he did before me in the last few targets.
That's what I would prefer.
Yeah. Still, lose a lot of pressure.
From the bottom?
We have declared the 14 is in play on the last 2 shots, because these guys they got a little deficit to make up, so we want to make it possible at least.
Low.
a deer in the eye at this distance, Devin Wills buck, you can hunt.
Eyeball, here we go.
Dude.
Was it the ear? I was like, he
I don't
might
know.
have it.
Does he have it?
He might have
I
the
can tell
eyeball.
you, I've never seen an arrow do that before.
Yeah, it's stuck by the fletching in something. Yeah, the lower's always toward the belly and the upper's toward the shoulder. Is it the ear?
Dude, there is evidence right there. Does that count? That's eyelid.
I mean,
You nick the eyelid. It's actually got to be in the eye.
And I was going for the hardest part to give the deer a chance.
That's still a good
I could
shot,
have went for
Devin.
this one and pegged him, but
you start like a eyebrow business for deer.
I don't know, man.
yeah.
It's a pretty good shot, wasn't it?
It's an eyelash right there at least. All right, well, you won,
I
as
won.
expected. Devin Wills buck, what are you gonna do? You gonna make a ruling on that?
We've got another shoot coming up.
Oh man, that's cruel. You hit the eyelash and it doesn't count. Any other bucks that you want to talk about right now before we start the topic?
Not really.
Yeah.
We know about Genesis.
Yeah.
We got Junior. Junior's one we really haven't talked about, but we need to get some velvet footage of him and talk about him
Yeah,
because he's going to be on the list.
big deer. Wide 9 Junior is his name. We'll let you worry about what that means until you find him, see him back. But what we're here today to talk about is, we're sitting right around 60 days from opening day in Iowa. We are very lucky at Midwest Whitetail, with Owen, to really set an example, stay on us about shooting. And as we talked about on the front end, you saw it on social media, Owen was the state champion in Iowa, and Missouri has been the last few months traveling to different ASAs. And you talk about it all the time about it's training you for deer season. You obviously love archery. You love the camaraderie of the archery circuit. You made some of your best friends. But that led into this discussion today and the title of the video, which is pressure shooting for whitetail deer hunting, or just pressure shooting for hunting in general. And after us talking, I think that there is a lot left on the table from a lot of people, a lot of excuses, including myself, making time for shooting, thinking that number of arrows is good enough to prepare us for deer season. And just after watching you go through your processes, there's really no other word than like inspiration or accountability. Those are the two things that come to mind of like, we can all do better. And really what I'm hoping to extract is there's 60 days until opening day. How can we become the most comfortable, best shooters, address the most important controllable as a hunter before we hit the woods?
Right. First I'd go way back into the 90s where I first seen benefits to this. I was a young kid, started bow hunting when I was 12, when I was first legally able to bow hunt there in Michigan. And I struggled. It took me 6 years to finally kill a deer. I did everything wrong you could do. Arrow falls off the rest, falls off the string. Anything you can think of you could do wrong. I did all that. So I was self-taught. Well, as I started to love archery more and more, I think the difficulty of killing a deer with a bow and arrow kind of drove me. I loved archery. Pretty soon I wanted to do more and more. Well, I started shooting ASA, I want to say it was probably 96, 97, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. I shot a whole season of ASA. I was maybe 20. That fall going into that, rattled in the best buck of my life in Michigan there. And I was as calm as I've never experienced anything like it. It would just seem just automatic, I felt the pressure he's coming in and everything, but when I came to full draw and executing the shot and everything, it was a different deal. It was a game changer. And so that's what finally turned me on to this, or first turned me on to it. It's like, okay, there's something to shooting all year and having that pressure shooting. Then when you get out there, real life scenario, it's much easier to do, and so I've always known the benefits to it when you get into the season, and so that's where we're at now. I got to keep it going. I've gotten to where I've gotten this year, shooting very well. That's what I would say, first, just starting where I've seen the benefits of it.
Yeah, you played basketball, right?
Did,
like
yeah.
that. And that, for me, sports are what I grew up on. That's where my head's always been trying to, you put in the work. What you do there is, how you perform on a game day or, on a track event, whatever it might be. And shooting a bow, to me, is so similarly related to free throw practice. And, I always remember it's like, I shot 100 free throws, but it's like, how diligent did you shoot those free throws? How much did you replicate game noise, pressure? And that for me is probably where I think my biggest flaw with archery has been the last few years, specifically being in my mid, now late 20s, prioritizing work and every other thing and coming up with excuse after excuse, right? And I shoot my bow, but I have found myself after just watching you, I'm like, I'm going through the motions. You know, the number of arrows that I've put in, let's just say in the last 6 months, I could tell you the last 2 times I've shot this course with you, I have taken away much more in the, way less arrows. And so intentionality is kind of where my head's gone of like, you definitely want to develop muscle memory, shoot your bow. There's no bad day to shoot your bow. I think that going out and doing that's great, but how many times do you hear people say, yeah, I shot 5-10 arrows today. I shot 5-10 arrows this week. Your game day or your hunt or your ASA state championship, whether you've been there or not, emotionally, the pressure shooting, I think that that's really what's dictating it. And like when I think about now, like how do you replicate that? That's kind of what I want you to talk about. It's like, how does somebody who is working, maybe they've got a family, they don't have the ability to burn the weekends to go to these tournaments. Do you have any recommendations? Like you built a pool business for how many years?
Right, last 30 years, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's always things you can make time for. It's just how bad do you want to do it? You pick like my life. I make time for archery. Back in the day, I made time for basketball. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we got all of our work stuff we have to get to. But if it's something that you want to be a better big buck hunter, you can work every day toward that. If you want to be a better archer, you can work every day toward that. Figure out what it is that you need to work on. Like for me, my regimen is when we start getting into this ASA season, I get up every morning, get done what I have to get done. Then when I'm waiting for Devin, I'll shoot some arrows. Like you said, make them intentional. If there's something you want to work on that. And then as we got closer to, the state championships, now I'm starting to take time. I'm getting up early enough to shoot the 3D course before we start our days. So every day I would do that. And I make my course out there as tough as anything you're going to see. So that's another takeaway for me is I want the preparation. I've already prepared for the toughest shots I'm going to see. So when I get out there in the course, they don't seem like tough shots, even though they are. A lot of times they are tough shots, but been there and done that. So I think anybody can make time for it. It's just how bad do you want it?
That is takeaway number one. I propose that question as, well, the guy that is too busy. And frankly, the answer is you're not. I mean, it's just like working out, prioritizing health. Like no matter what you have 24 hours in a day to do, you can pick and choose how to fit more in. That discipline is something that I'd be the first one to sit here and say, I have lacked discipline in making archery a priority for me. And then you just kind of talked about like putting in the work and doing all the right things. On this on this channel, we talk about food plots all the time. We talk about access lanes, trimming our tree stands, checking safe lines, you name it. How is it then that the one thing that we can control when we get to that moment drawing back on the buck that we've put all this work in for, it's kind of crazy when you say out loud, well, that's the thing I don't have time for, right? So, okay, you don't have time in theory or even space. I mean, maybe that's a bigger limiting factor. I think about like the Morel dice target. I really like that target from the standpoint of like, it still in some ways is mimicking, aim small, miss small. That's something that on these 3D courses, the first time I came down here, I was just aiming for vitals. I've never shot, ASA 12s, 10s, etc. And today, I was getting really frustrated, like to the point of actually like just being mad. Those first 4, 5, 6 targets, embarrassing execution, dropping my bow arm. And I started to creep into that, like, did I finally hit it? Dropping, peaking. And then I just took a deep breath and looked at you and said, all right, just hit the reset button because it's not the bow's fault, it's mental. So that's the next thing I'd like to talk through is like, if you've prioritized these things, you've found a way to make it work. What's the mental component? How are you getting yourself to truly tap into something that mimics drawing on an animal? You know what I mean? Like trying to make the best shot, not the good enough shot.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's mainly repetition and just, repeating over and over your shot process. So I've got a process I go through. If you watch, I'll touch the front of my grip every time, same place, make sure my grip's the same. So it's doing that over and over and over to when you get into that pressure shooting, it's automatic for you, or you think less about it, So I think that's a big takeaway is just having that repeatability and doing it the same each time, thinking about that, being intentional. I'm a perfectionist and that drives me a lot of times. So everything's got to be just so, and that goes a long way toward accuracy and being better. If you're competitive like we are, you know, and you're not shooting well, that upsets you, and sometimes that's okay.
You know, how do you then translate that into a hunting situation? You know, if I said, walk me through 3 of the hunts or 1 or 2 of the hunts where you felt like you really had to exemplify putting this stuff into practice, which ones jump out for you? There's plenty to choose from, obviously.
Right,
but, you know, ones that maybe we can show.
Yeah, I mean, wide 9 would definitely be one of them. You know, that was one where I wasn't going to send it unless I felt comfortable about it. Everything had to be just right. And so, you know, hunts like that where you're really tested, because I was nervous in that situation, like most of us are. You know, a lot of times people look at me, you don't even get nervous or whatever. Well, I get worked up just like everybody else does. Maybe not to the same extent when I was younger without the experience, you know, but so I deal with the same stuff you guys deal with, and that's why I do all this pressure shooting, you know. I want it to be a lessened effect where I can still think rationally at the time of truth, you know. I think that's a big takeaway, is just trying to be rational at that time.
So when wide 9's in front of you, I mean, I distinctly remember this hunt where, you know, he's on the doe and going back and forth, you know, slowly, almost to the point where, like, you get more time to get worked up. You draw back a few different times. One of the biggest observations that I kept seeing, now maybe, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seemed like you were really hyper-focusing on body position of wide 9. You know, that's something, like, having got to edit, I don't know how many hunts at this point, it's really easy to break down right away shoulder position. Like, when you're just watching it on camera, you're like, why would you do that? But when you get put into that moment, you know, you have to find a way to compartmentalize, like, what exactly to focus on. Is there a process that you're able to lock into when it comes, you know, your bow stuff's taken care of? How about, do you study it all, or is it just experience when somebody can make those decisions about angle of cavity, shoulder being back versus forward, you know, body language, is he fired up, you called him in? Like, I think that's another, maybe the next layer of trying to familiarize yourself. How did you do that?
You know, I think for me, I mean, I have to give that some thought, but I would say more than anything, it's probably experience on that. You know, like in that particular hunt, I didn't feel like they were ever going to close the distance and give me a closer shot, so that was one factor. So, okay, you take that into account. All right, if you're going to kill him today, it's probably going to be this shot. Now he's turned, he's opened up the vitals the way you want, you know, and so you take all that into account. I would say probably it's just experience. I just go back to experience. I've been here before. This is the shot I want, and this is probably my only good opportunity. Although you never know what could happen. Yeah. But you take your highest percentage shot, or, you know, what you feel like is your best percentage shot that day if you want to take that shot, you know? Yeah, so one thing that, you know, I hear a lot, like, well, you just need experience, you need years under your belt. And don't get me wrong, the best experience for shooting at animals is being in the woods and trying to execute these things. But, you know, what I'm trying to come up with is, like, well, how can you accelerate that process? As tacky as it might seem, where it started for me was a techno hunt. There's a Fin and Feather in Iowa City that my buddy Collins and I used to go to prior to our Nebraska turkey season. And it was the first time, like, you are really, like, it's video and you're getting to shoot inside of a range, but it's at animals that have vital spots, etc. And I started to think, like, okay, if I don't want to come pay for a techno hunt every time, how can I train my eye or train my process to start picking up on it? Well, one thing I do is watch hunting all the time. And so it's like a subconscious thing at this point, but what I started to do, like, if you're watching a hunting show, say you're watching Owen on wide 9, you could start as the viewer to start saying, body, leg back. Okay, now it's forward. Like, you could almost put yourself in the driver's seat, you know, and just run through mimicking as if you were that hunter of picking apart that situation. Right. You know, if you're spending a lot of time watching hunting, that to me could help a lot. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. You can sit there and analyze every shot that you watch and, like, okay, this is where I would take the shot. Or watch when they take the shot and say, okay, what did he do right? What did he do wrong? A lot of good takeaways. So we got 60 days. What could somebody do? You know, ASA is something that I think would be cool for you to talk about. You made mention, you know, back in the 90s, it wasn't as prevalent. I know we've got TAC. If somebody's on the other end, they've watched this and they're thinking about, I want to do a bit better, you know, I want to control the controllables a little bit more, what would you throw at them? I mean, number one thing I would say is make yourself uncomfortable. So put yourself in the pressure situations that makes you uncomfortable, and you're going to know what that is. If that's shooting with your buddy that always gives you grief when he beats you, do that. Put the camera on you. I know for me, when I was shooting with the camera on, you don't want to look like an idiot and make it just a terrible shot, right? So putting the camera right up on, that was pressure for me. So anything that's going to drive pressure, going to these ASAs and shooting with guys that you know well, they're good shooters, you want to be right there competing with them. So anything that you can think of in your mind that adds pressure, I think, is going to go a long way towards getting you where you want to be when it comes to time to make that shot.
Yeah, and another thing I've heard, you know, watching Dudley, watching Cam Haynes, they talk about heart rate. You know, that's one thing that is sometimes probably hard to replicate is you see a big buck and it's just like, you're like, I should be fine, but you start shaking, you know, and I mean, I hope I never lose that. You know, obviously it has gone from like seizing to you know, shaking. I mean, but you know, working out or running and then shooting, I think is maybe an overlooked thing, you know, for some people. I just wanted to say congratulations again. You know, I really hope you know that I don't want to speak for the rest of the team, but like watching you go through this, you achieved your goal. You know, I know last year that this was your goal, and you did it. And I think that that's absolutely awesome. And it's really just, I don't know, maybe the word's accountability, maybe the word's guilty. You know, I know I have a lot to give, you know, as far as putting in more time, putting in more work, and, you know, hitting the fall. No questions will be in my mind, you know. What's that quote that we said?
About being prepared?
Yeah.
It was rise to the occasion. So you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your level of preparation.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that spoke to me because when I walked out the door, I think I told you this, my brother was sitting there. I said, all the preparing's been done, now it's time to go shoot. And that's exactly the way I felt. I'd prepared for it, you know?
Every one of us can say we feel that way hitting the woods each day. You know, got 60 days to do it. Chasing November update is formally, we are going to launch season 10 on August 14th. Gavin is working his tail off right now to finalize it up. Really enjoying the episodes. It's, you know, first and foremost a testament and a congratulations to the entire Midwest Whitetail team. It is a massive effort to capture everything and do our best to teach through, you know, the trials and tribulations of a deer season. And number two, big thank you to everybody that supports the series. You guys are frankly what allow us to get to sit here and talk through these things and chase these animals and build these memories. And I'm very thankful for Midwest Whitetail. It's obviously led to some of my best friends. And we're excited to launch the series. The other thing to stay on the lookout for is we are doing a pretty awesome giveaway, opening day giveaway that will go live here soon. It'll be on the website. And I'll just flash right here. You know, this is going to give you an idea of the prize pack that you can win. All you got to do to enter is going to be to enter your email on the website, and we'll get those details launched on all the socials. But, you know, 60 days. I mean, technically we're under 60 days at this point of October 1st, which is just absolutely crazy. Moving forward, you got the chase. You're going to set up your hunting bow. That's the next video probably coming out.
I'm going to set up the hunting bow and go through everything I do for tuning so you can broadhead. Your broadheads hit the same as your field points and how to tune for that.
Okay.
So it'll be on the next chase video.
Yep, so if you guys don't know what that is, Midwest Whitetail The Chase, it's a separate YouTube channel, and there's going to be 6 different playlists this year that you can follow along with each person. Some are going to be on a daily standpoint, some will be weekly, but either way, it's going to be the more in-depth, you know, observations or strategies. And then obviously here on the main channel, you'll be able to find Chasing November. We will take a break on the main show while those episodes are running and then start it up in early September. But, you know, deer season is 2025. Most of everybody's got big bucks right now. Should be a great year. We appreciate you guys watching the episode.
Thank you, guys. I would just like to say thank you to everybody that's reached out to me and gave me congrats or said whatever about winning the state championship. So I really appreciate that, guys.
Who?
Oh, okay.